Hey, yo, what's up? I'm Rogers. I'm from Winona, Ontario originally. I now reside in the Niagara region, and I play guitar and hostage, as well as Coke Spoon, where I play guitar and lyrics. So, what got me into punk and hardcore? That's quite the transition. Um, basically, uh, I got into punk. That's where it started when I started skateboarding with some of my local childhood friends just around town in Winona. And once we made our way over to a local convenience store, Casey Discount, and basically picked up a copy of Thrasher magazine, that kind of opened up the flood doors for pretty much everything. Um, First ad I remember seeing was Punkorama 2. And my buddy at the time was like, "Hey, I think my sister's got that CD," because he had like three older sisters, and yeah, we remember listening to it at their house, and it was just like, yeah, like Descendants, SNFU, Rancid, Poison Idea, H2O, like everything on it, and I ended up going out and buying that, and then basically everything else I ended up seeing along the way. Every copy I bought, I would just eat up whatever, just just random things like Mustard Plug, Shy Halud, I Hate God, like everything, man. I remember my fifth grade teacher like almost taking away that magazine because if I didn't close it in time, like, I hate who? And like, yeah, I closed it just in time, shoved it in my desk. But yeah, like Thrasher's is to thank for getting me into the punk music, that is. Um, and it was more so for I guess it was advertisements for skate videos too, right? Because that's the whole point of buying the skate magazines at the time, for inspiration, because we were into skateboarding. But 411 Video Magazine, remember, volume 38, Keenan Milton on the front, but with the cameos in it, he there was some like bald headed goon in it, which I thought was Moby at the time. And there was some guy on the ground. He goes, "Hey, what's up? I'm Ian Mackay. You're watching the 411." And I'm like, "Who the fuck's Ian Mackay? Like, I don't know who this guy is." And my buddy Brian Johnson, who's a few years older than me, he told me, he's like, "Oh, he's in a punk band like Minor Threat." So I discovered that later on as well. So that was kind of my introduction to at least to punk music, and it went into it derived into metal, obviously, but as far as the hardcore aspect goes, when I was in high school, I luckily was able to do the co-op placement where you didn't have to be at school and write like a retard on paper, and I was working at a lumber yard, Turkshire Lumber in Stony Creek, and I ended up getting a job out of it. And when I was there, the guy that worked there, I ended up meeting it was Tony Jacome, and I thought he was like the coolest guy when I met him because the first time I met him, I just saw this huge like Toyota forklift driving down this yard, glass enclosed Toyota forklift, and he had these homemade wooden speakers. Like he had surround sound in his forklift, and it was so fucking loud. I could hear him coming from like a kilometer away. And like as soon as he got out of the forklift and got out of it, and he has his clipboard with him, and I'm just like, I'm hearing loud, angry music, and I was just like, "How do I get your job?" He's like, "Keys are hanging up there." Like as he was walking in the side door to go like friggin' leave work because he didn't want to be there anymore. Basically, I thought it was a dream job. But anyways, I got talking to him, and over time, and he's just like, "Oh, what's in your Walkman?" or whatever we were listening to on our lunch break. And we started talking about music, and eventually it led to him talking about the bands he was in, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'm in this band, Shallow, North Dakota, but I don't know, we're not really playing shows right now, and the guys are doing other things." And I'm like, "Oh," and he said, "Oh, they're in this other band called Cursed," and then he's just telling me to check them out, and then go to Dr. Disc and Cheapies and like Sonic Onion and Raining Sound and all these stores downtown. And like the hardcore and underground scene was because of Tony, really, because just from working with him through high school. So yeah, it all kind of just blossomed from there, I guess you could say. So yeah. So main influences. Uh, well, I mean, it started at home. I'm grateful for that. I'm lucky that I always had music playing, whether it was like music blaring out of the stereo in the living room, or when we were having family car rides around the corner to the grocery store or a hockey tournament. There was always music playing of some sort. Like my dad had everything from like the Guess Who to the Beatles, CCR, ZZ Top, um, and then my mom, who could recite every song from Oldies 1150, and which was the moldy oldies. That she criticized that and made fun of it. Yet we were all singing along at the end of it, from like Roy Orbison to Stupid Elvis and the Foundations, Four Top Share. So yeah, we always had music playing. So there's always music going on in my head, and then it kind of spiraled off into everything I saw on the TV, to I don't know, whatever my friends were listening to. Um, I guess as far as instrumentally goes, for me being a guitar player, as my buddy Luke would say, I'm always throwing in the Iomis and whatever I'm playing, so I can thank Black Sabbath for that. I guess as being a main influence. Um, I guess as far as being outspoken goes, because that's like punk and hardcore, right? Uh, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. George Carlin has always been a hero of mine, a visionary ahead of his time. He always said that himself. He made sense of things before they did. So I always looked up to him. I still do to this day, as being kind of an influence on just questioning stuff, because that's kind of what music is, when it comes to being yourself and expressing everything, right? And oh shit, especially in this day and age, in this pandemic we're living in, where everyone has the fear of germs and viruses. And I remember Carlin. I mean, this bit still speaks volumes to me, like to this present point right now, where he talks about how everyone has this constant fear of germs and getting sick. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. In prisons, before they give you a lethal injection, they swab your arm with alcohol, which I get their point. I mean, you don't want this guy to go to hell and be sick. And so he just makes so much sense. And like, I always looked up to him, as an influence in being outspoken. And shit, why didn't he play in a band? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he played. I wish he did. But uh, yeah, I'm gonna ramble on about him for the next 10 minutes. But yeah, he was definitely an influence. Aside from my parents and everything else that I've been listening to up till this present day. So my first show, if you want to even count it, well, first live band I ever seen, um, I believe it was probably '98. Yeah, I was probably about 12 years old. I saw 5440 play at the Winona Beach Festival. I mean, I live three doors down from the fest, so like, I mean, if I walked out to the end of my driveway, I could hear them playing. But that was like the first live band I probably saw. Um, uh, yeah, at the Winona Beach Festival, and I remember that specifically because they had a they had a good run for a while. Whoever was booking it, because the following year, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was '99. They're terrible, but C Spot Run played the next year. I remember Weightless was stuck in my head, and I hated myself and wanted to walk in oncoming traffic because I don't know, they're not great at all. But then the next year, or maybe a year or two after, was when it kind of put a halt to everything when they booked I Mother Earth. That was probably their biggest mistake, and I mean it was absolute chaos with all the crowd surfing and anarchy and public nudity that was frowned upon by the locals, oddly enough, and yeah, that was like my first string of like live shows, I guess you could say. Um, yeah, and that's where it kind of I was in that era of like I was skating, punk, metal, um, but I guess my first I won't say hardcore show, but I guess hardcore band that really blew me away or intrigued me because they were on a mixed bill. Because when I started going to shows in like the early 2000s, like 2002 or three, so to say, it was mixed bills, and I remember being at Club Rocket in Toronto, and it was uh, Evergreen Terrace and the Red Chord, and this band called the Kill Decibel opened, and I mean, oh fuck, they blew me away. I'm just like it was just it was literally their band is a mix of everything, and I guess that was like the first hardcore band I really appreciated. Um, yeah, and I mean, it all kind of unraveled from there. Of me, oh, here's a flyer, here's a flyer. As soon as I walked out of the show, and then I just started discovering other bands and I guess other area codes, so to say, because I went to Toronto, right? But yeah, that was the first hardcore band I think I saw that where I told myself, oh, there's more out there. There's something better. So some of my favorite shows. List is never ending. Try and narrow this down. Um, One I always remember was probably I want to say maybe 2008, 2009. I was at Mohawk Place in Buffalo. It was Converge was a headliner, and I believe it was Rise and Fall opened with Pulling Teeth, Ceremony, Coliseum. I feel like there's one other band, but uh, every set was just full of energy. People stage diving, going nuts, moshing. Me and my buddy Brandon getting drunk at a gas station for like $3 at the time. um, that was fun. Any show at Mohawk Place. I remember Caustic Christ and Annihilation Time there. The singer from Caustic Christ like jumping off the fucking speakers, hanging from the ceiling, the rafters. Um, I remember seeing any Fuck You Pay Me show. Let's just say that. I saw them in Buffalo one time with Slapshot, and people were like wrestling and power bombing Tony Erba on stage, and he's calling out where's all the hardcore tough guys to come save me, as a WWF skit or whatever he was trying to do until someone kills him, or gives him insulin. Uh, yeah, any Fuck You Pay Me show, any Shattered Realm show. That was always crazy, for the fact that like there was bar stools being broken or people being thrown over pool tables or just someone's gonna get hurt and die possibly. Any Haymaker show, um, uh, kind of on the other end of the spectrum. I remember seeing. I'm not big into them, but I remember being at Maryland. Death Fest one year in Baltimore, might have been 2012. I saw Neurosis play. I'm not big into them, but the fact that they were playing outside on stage, and they had the big screen going with all the like gore and whatever the theatrics guy was doing and the lighting, and there was a lightning storm happening in the background, and then it started raining halfway through their set. Like, I mean, that was pretty crazy to see. It's like a band playing outside, but there's shit happening on stage, but then there's also like a big storm coming this way in Baltimore. So that was kind of cool. Um, Remember seeing the Scorpions for the first and only time, I think. Maybe 2000, maybe 2010, because they've Michael Schenker. He's always been a big influence as far as guitar goes. He's amazing, better than most. before the pandemic, I'm all over the place right now. Before the pandemic, I saw Twin Temple and Amigo the Devil at Lee's Palace. That show blew me away. So past and current bands. Yeah, that basically started after I stopped jamming in the garage because my mom realized that you can turn down the volume on the drums. So I started jamming elsewhere, or at least when she wasn't around. I got together with a bunch of dudes that I went to high school with. We were just kind of fucking around, jamming with just doing covers, whatever. We didn't really have a sound what we wanted to go for. Uh, it basically turned into a metal band. Became Body Break. I did a 2-song demo with them. We recorded in in Winona, actually, on McNeely Road, in a basement at um, at a dude's house we went to high school with. Brent Worth, I believe, was his name, or Brian Worth, the brothers. But anyways, I played a couple shows with them, and then I was like, yeah, this isn't for me, and I just quit the band. And along that way of just kind of going to shows, um, I just met people along the way. My buddy Drew, actually, who I played hockey with, and we were jamming even before this band when we were in high school still. We connected. We connected again, and we met with our buddy Jose that we met through shows and other bands, and he was looking to start a band, and we went to a show in St. Catharines. Well, I remember going to, at least. I remember seeing the band Life play, and it was members of like In These Walls, Day and a Death Wish, like local Niagara bands. And this guy Jay Scarlino was the vocalist of the band at that time. It was their last show, and after that show was done, we ended up talking to Jay and being like, "Hey, we're talking about starting a band. We know all the same people, and I guess we started a band, and Lions became a thing." I joined a little later on because it was a 4-piece at the time. And so yeah, Lions was basically a band from, I'd say, about 2005 to 2007, 2008. We played a lot of shows all throughout Ontario, Montreal, Quebec. Our big tour was, I think, summer of 2005. Started in Hamilton, and then we made our way up through Detroit, all through the Midwest, crossing the borders, going to like Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Calgary. Had a stopover in was it Banff National Park, I remember, because one of the bands we were with at the time, E-Town Beatdown, that we were on tour with, I think their van broke down, so we stayed with them at a lodge, which we scammed for free somehow. JFK, if you're watching this, thank you for scamming us all the free pizzas and the stays at those free lodges and hotels. Then we ended up making our way to Vancouver, with a few other bands along the way. Death Sentence was one of them. And then, we made our way crossing the border over into Oregon, made our way down to California, which we linked up with our brothers in TIE Fighter, who early on, before Lions was even on tour, we became friends. And we ended up staying at their place in California for like a week straight because Rob, their vocalist at the time, he lived right on Huntington Beach, like right across the street from a skate park, so it was perfect when we stayed there. Just we wake up every morning, we'd have breakfast, go skateboard, and then go play some shows. We're right around the corner from Compton. Like it was a pretty wild time on that tour. Yeah, and well, sorry, in California, and then we made our way to Texas. Then made our way, or no, Vegas. Sorry, Vegas after that, and then Texas. And yeah, that was a month-long tour, kind of all over the place. But yeah, there was tons of bands on that tour that we played with. That was awesome. Like I said, like E-Town, Beatdown, TIE Fighter, Death Sentence. The Vegas show, I remember it was like Sinking Ships, Iron Age. Oh, fuck, there's tons of other bands that were along that tour in general. Trying to think here. But yeah, so as far as Lions go, yeah, that was like 2005 to around 2008. And around the time that Lions was kind of coming to an end, and Jose and I had already started jamming to do something else, and we were doing like a kind of like a punky hardcore power violence kind of thing, and it turned into Eating Glass. I think the last couple shows, actually, the last two Lions shows, Eating Glass might have played one or two of them, with the Kill Decibel and a bunch of other bands. But yeah, we were banned for 2007 to 2009, I want to say. Played a lot of shows all around southern Ontario, like Quebec. We did some shows in the States too, Pennsylvania and New Jersey with like War Pigs and Trash Talk, a bunch of other bands. And yeah, I think it was like 2009 that probably came to an end. It was Eating Glass, but I mean, we still accomplished to put out a tape, a record, on High Anxiety Records. And then we all kind of went our separate ways, I guess. That band did, at least. And then I kind of went through a little dry stage with music. And I think maybe the following year, 2011, I was briefly in a band called Culture Seas with a bunch of dudes from Niagara. I joined it late, second guitar player. I played a couple shows. I think I played 2 or 3 shows with them. It was like, I think with the Mongoloids, I remember, was our last show. Well, the last show Culture Seas ended up playing. And then they kind of just disbanded because everyone in that band was in other bands. But luckily, with joining that band, I created friendships. And I remember Chris and Randy from Culture Seas. We ended up starting a band called Owl Eyes. Got in touch with Jose again, and he wasn't doing anything, so he said, I have some things I'm angry about, and said he'd do vocals. And we were just looking for a drummer from there, and Chris and Randy knew this little kid, because he literally was at the time, named Luke, who was basically in every Niagara hardcore band at the time. He was basically tossed around like a pack of smokes in prison, and we went out to Font Hill and jammed at his place, and we started jamming some songs I had written over the last few months or whatever period of time I was writing, and yeah, we ended up doing a demo. I think 5 or 6 songs on there. We ended up playing a bunch of shows, like the Not Dead Yet fests. We did a little week tour with Full of Hell and Code Orange Kids. Weekend Nachos. Yeah, we put out another 7-inch, the Seventh Circle record release show. Terror headlined that. Yeah, we so Owl Eyes was from, I don't know, another couple of years. It was like 2011 to maybe 2014, 15, I want to say. Um, and then basically that's when I really went on a dry spout as far as music goes. I wasn't really doing anything at that time. I was more more so going to shows than playing shows, and in that time frame, I want to say from like yeah to 2013, 14, in that era, I remember meeting Sandy. I think it was outside of Doors Pub one night. I don't know how we started talking. We had a few drinks or whatever, but uh, I started going to shows, and it was like, oh, hey, it's you again. And then I was at an A389 Fest in Baltimore, and where it was the Left for Dead reunion, and I'm like, oh, hey, it's you again. And Sandy and I kind of became friends, and just from music, and riding motorcycles, and just general interests, and we're like, oh, we should start a band, and we remember we started jamming some songs. I remember Sandy came over. He had his guitar strapped to the sissy bar of his motorcycle, and we jammed some songs out one night. And he's like, "Oh, care if I leave my guitar here tonight?" And I could see why. I mean, I wouldn't want to drive home with a guitar strapped to my motorcycle. It was a bad idea. He's lucky he made it there. But anyways, yeah, we were jamming some songs out to start a band, but then the whole Chokehold reunion was put on the table, so we stopped jamming. That was all our material we had was on the back burner, and then after the Chokehold reunion was said and done, I guess it was 2018. We linked back up and started jamming again, and we started Hostage. Kind of had a bit of a revolving door between members, but from 2018 till 2022, we're still going strong. We've put out a 12-inch with Life Spite from RSR Records out in Europe. We did a demo tape. We did a All Hope Defiled 4-song EP. And we're writing more and more material now. And I guess out of the time we've done Hostage, we when we had our one of our drummers would not show up on time, we decided, well, let's make use of our time, and we started another side project called Coke Spoon. So we have a couple songs out of that. We actually have quite a few songs. I have a bungload of lyrics. I just need to put to more songs, so that'll be coming out in the near future. And that's pretty much it from here on out. So we'll see what happens. So the craziest thing I've ever seen at a show. I actually do remember it like it was yesterday. I think it was, I gotta say, I don't know, 2005 maybe, 2006, sure. Somewhere in the mid-2000s. I was at a show in St. Catharines at L3, and that should say enough because L3 was notorious for their bouncers being like the worst paid buzzkills. Like they're just kicking people out for just having fun, really. And I don't remember what bands were playing. There was a few locals. Pretty sure In These Walls were playing. Because I remember Anthony, the singer, being outside as a witness for what I saw. But anyway, some dude got kicked out of the show by the bouncers, and he was pretty pissed off, and he was just walking around like along the sidewalk. Everyone else was standing outside of the show and saw how pissed off he was. He was like yelling and swearing and shit. And I guess he decided to take his anger out on the small business window beside him, plate glass window, and he basically just like just punched right through this window, and as he exited out, he skin grafted himself, and it was like a scene from Tenebrae, the Dario Argento film, where the girl gets her arm cut off, and it's just like a rainbow of blood all over the friggin' all over the wall. Well, that's what happened right in front of my face. It was just like just blood just happening as this guy pulled his arm out of this plate glass window, and it was like super soakering, like just like everywhere, and everyone was just like, "What the fuck?" Because it was like the era of like flip phones. So it's just like, I mean, who's got a flip phone or a sidekick or something? And he's just holding his arm, and just like there was just like a pool of blood, and like of course there's all like my meathead friends and just people outside of the show like throwing up gang signs and pulling out their knives like someone just died, because it looked like someone just died, and like somehow an ambulance came within like pretty shortly, within minutes, and the rumor was this dude died. And he didn't, but like we thought he did, because I've never seen that much blood in my entire life, even though I watched like a bungload of horror movies. But yeah, that was pretty wild to see, for that his arm was still intact and he lived. And then I guess probably doesn't live up to this, but one other time when I was on tour with Lions, we were playing a show in Bakersfield, California. It was just off of a street, actually, that the band Korn was named off. It was like Korn Avenue and something else, and we were playing in the basement of a pizza parlor. And at the time, we were on tour with E-Town Beatdown, and when we were on that tour, when we were still in Canada, we started Van Wars, and when we were playing in Saskatchewan during our set, they some of the band drew like a giant ketchup dick on our windshield of our van, and it like, because it was the summertime, it like molded to the window, so it was like this big red ketchup dick, and so we're like, oh, we got to get them back. So once we played in their hometown in Edmonton, when they were playing, me, Jose, Jay, basically the Lions dudes, during their set, we decided to steal all the toilet paper from the bathrooms of the venue we were playing in, and we just soaked them as giant spitballs and threw them all over their van, and then I remember going to the local gas station and stole a bunch of like Mott's Clamato, like tomato juice, and like we dumped them all over the toilet paper, so it's just like, oh, it's a giant period, like their van, and then to top it off, for where we were playing, there was like an alley, and there was like a love seat, and we decided to put the couch on top of the roof of their van, so it's just like, it was like toilet paper, period, blood, and a love seat on top of their van in their hometown. And they're like, oh, you got us, okay, we're even. So little do we know, when we played that show in Bakersfield in that in the basement of that pizza parlor, when we came back upstairs when our set was done, the Lions van at the time just looked like a giant pervmobile, because I guess the guys in E-Town Beatdown stole a whole bunch of nudie magazines and ripped all the pages out and plastered our whole entire van with just like tits and pussies and big floppy dicks, and saran wrapped the whole van where we couldn't get in, and everyone was just like, oh, what's the surprise? What's waiting inside of here? So it's just this big porno magazine van was just sitting outside, and I'm trying to put my gear, I wanted to put my gear in, but I come out and everyone else is just staring at it. And I have my keys out because it was my van at the time, and I'm just like, you should see what's inside, but they weren't really going for that. So I don't know, that was kind of crazy to see. I'm glad I don't live in California, because yeah, we had a big pedo van basically outside of some pizza shop. So my likes and dislikes about being a musician, not too many dislikes. What I really like is for what I played over the years, as far as hardcore and punk goes, I mean, you can really do whatever you want because that's kind of what I've done. Um, you just basically have the freedom to write your own music without anyone having any kind of say other than the members that are in the band, and they all approve and like it, right? But I mean, I just remember from being on tour, being in Vancouver, and I remember Jay making up a contract that night because we're wondering how the hell are we going to cross the border to go to the States and go into Oregon and play all these shows. And we just made up a contract saying, oh, we're going to go record 4 songs by these names. They're this long. We're recording it on this street with this guy at that address. And here's their phone numbers and all their information. And giving that to the border guards, and they're just like, oh, okay. And they let us over. So, I mean, like, we just made up all that shit. And because we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, and that's what we've done over the years. So, that's one particular thing I really thought we got away with. And not that we should have to get away with, but just the fact that we should be able to do that, do whatever we want. So, that's one thing about hardcore and punk is that we've made the music we wanted to make, and at that time, like I was saying, we got over the border and we just made all that shit up. We didn't do any of that. We just went to play shows, and all of our merch was just, we screwed off the back of our guitar cabinets and hid all our CDs and merchandise in there, and we smuggled that over, and we made money and said fuck you to the border and everybody else. Because, I mean, yeah, oh, you want us to come over and you want us to spend money, not make money, but you know what? Fuck you. Like, it shouldn't matter. So we did what we want, and I'm still going to do what I want, and that's kind of what I like about hardcore and punk music is you do what you want. And that's what we've been doing. As far as there's many other reasons, but as far as dislikes go, I mean, there's really nothing to it. I mean, other than the fact that when you're in a band, you have to be open-minded, and you have to compromise, right? Because being in a band is being in a relationship with X amount of other people, and you just have to listen and be open to interpretation to ideas you have to creating music, right? So, I mean, that's the only dislike is just having patience and being open-minded. So my most favorite food, I would just say it's homemade pasta and homemade Italian sausage, because it was always a staple growing up. It was usually every Wednesday or Thursday. Whenever I had a hockey game, because I'd eat it and then go and burn it off during the game, right? But primarily it's my favorite because one of my dad's coworkers, he had Alex Maloney, actually, if you're watching this, because he lived down the street. He lived out in, or he still lives out in Vineland. He had a bunch of property, and every summer we would go there for a day or a weekend, and we would bottle wine and make our own hot Italian sausage. We'd be casing it and bottling wine every day, and then people would be drunk and pissing on fires and having a good time. And every week I would have sausage to eat, and our freezer was packed, and our staircase was full of wine. So, that's about it. My most useless talent. It's kind of a cross between waking up every morning and disappointing people, or putting food in the microwave, because that's pretty useless, and that's why I don't own one.